guys, and welcome to another edition of Pro Wrestling Pulse. Alongside my Ryan. What the fuck are you doing?
Listening to some Pantera. Listen to some Pantera, man.
That was Pantera you were just singing.
I was listening to Pantera. I was listening to
What song were you listening to?
the one where they're
Walk?
Was it Running? No,
It's
there it
Walk.
is. That's the one.
You were listening to Walk
That's
by Pantera.
I was listening to.
It sounded eerily familiar to Tara's song from TNA.
I mean, I definitely heard Brown Bag Daryl's riff in there. Did you hear it? Did you hear the
Brown Bag Daryl?
You know, it's the good. He went on to that other band, and now they're
What band did he go to?
The one with the other band that's like Pantera. It's a Retnap. It's Pantera backwards, actually. You wouldn't understand, but I was listening to Tara's theme song. So
Gonna hold to that?
yeah, don't tell anybody about it.
What? Okay.
Let's go.
In this edition of the Pro Wrestling Pulse, going to be doing our inaugural Pulse Topix show. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, for you former IWR show viewers, we had our IWR Topix show. Basically, what we do with this show is cover 3 of the biggest topics going around, whether it be broad or kind of intricate topics. We cover 3 of the biggest ones going on in the wrestling world. We decided to bring this one over to the Pulse channel because we thought it was a good concept, just kind of being just a news kind of thing that we wanted to get out here. We didn't do it that often on the IWR show. We only did it every like 3 or 4 months. That won't be happening on this show. We'll be doing it hopefully every month. We'll be getting one out, kind of keeping current on what's going on outside of our just ridiculous pay-per-view schedule that we've been on since we started the Pro Wrestling Pulse. Finally got a weekend here without a pay-per-view so we could bring this video to you. And there's a lot of stuff obviously going on in the wrestling world right now. We're going to cover 3 of the biggest ones for you on this show. First topic up, we're going to be starting with TNA, basically covering our Bound for Glory outlook. What did you title our topic?
Looking forward to glory.
There it is. That's a nice little topic for
I like that.
First one starting out here. Obviously, TNA's biggest show of the year coming up in October, Bound for Glory, live from Phoenix, Arizona. I myself personally am really looking forward to this show. Obviously, Bound for Glory, their biggest show, like I said. It looks like they could be doing some really intriguing things coming up this coming month. Obviously, we already have the main event set up with champion Austin Aries and Jeff Hardy winning the Bound for Glory series. Looking like we have James Storm and Bobby Roode going to be going one-on-one, some sort of stipulation probably in that. We have the tag titles already announcing that triple threat, and we'll probably have some more being named down the road, and some really intriguing stuff looking forward to, and we'll probably be getting into that, but what do you really look forward to going into Bound for Glory?
Yeah, no, I mean, the 2 matches they got set, obviously in the main event, I really think that Aries and Hardy have such both interesting styles. I think they could really pull something really great out of this main event.
Yeah.
I think one thing out of the last several years, Bound for Glory, the main event hasn't been always the best match on the show, and I think it could be with Aries and Jeff Hardy in the main event. I think they could really show up and put out some really good stuff here. I know that Storm and Roode are possibly going to have a match. They haven't fully said it, but that's another one. And then the title match looks great. You're looking at a lot of talent in those 3 matches right there. Yeah. So what you look at now is, what do they have left? What can they got those, these 3 matches that are pretty much, 2 solidified, 1 that's probably going to happen. What else do you have? Who else do you have that you can really throw together into matches? It obviously looks like they might do Joe versus Magnus. Maybe Joe versus Magnus versus RVD in a triple threat. You don't really know what they're going to do. Who knows what Bully Ray's doing? There's so many different things going on. We talked about possibly a 5-on-5 or a 6-on-6, like, Aces and Eights versus TNA guys type thing. That would make a lot of sense. The Aces and Eights being the Sons of Anarchy ripoff.
Yep, Sons of Impact, as I named
Sons of Impact. Possibly Ron Perlman will run out here, dressed like Hellboy.
There it is.
Yeah.
Look at that reference.
Knowledge.
Boom.
But yeah, it's interesting to see what they're going to do, because I know this Aces and Eights thing is being dragged out, more and more and more and more. I mean, everyone really wants to know. And my instinct makes me feel like it's going to be the exact person, or the exact core of people that we already thought it was going to be. Like,
Yeah.
it makes me think that it's going to be Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
They did the they thing last year.
That's, I think, 2010, yeah, they did that.
Okay, 2010. So, it looks like, okay, they could unveil the leader of being Aces and Eights being Jeff Jarrett. How many times do you have to do some kind of unveiling with Jeff Jarrett
True.
as like a leader of a group?
Yeah.
I would love to see this somehow end up being James Storm. He was a part of it the whole time.
Yeah.
Or have it be, it even makes me think that maybe Bully Ray or something like that. Someone in that realm. Or they could just completely flip it and go a completely different route, and maybe it's Austin Aries. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of this whole Ace and Eights thing is you could really think of anybody that they could put in there that could be this person. I think the one person that we have not talked about that seems like it would be an interesting and probably piss a lot of people off is the leader might be Eric Bischoff. So you look at those options. You don't really know. I think the big unveil, obviously be at Bound for Glory, but. The card, the way it's set or the way it's leaning towards being set, I'm really looking forward to. Always look forward to Bound for Glory show, and they usually do pretty good overall card for Bound for Glory.
Obviously, like you said with the Aces and Eights thing, that's going to be something really to look forward to going into Bound for Glory. Obviously, I think it'll be unveiled. The only thing I will say, I agree with Ryan saying the whole how many times can do with Jeff Jarrett being the leader or something. This one. The they thing and all that stuff made absolutely no sense. There was no reason to really start any of that shit up. The crap that went on with Abyss, was all garbage. This one actually, with the backing of the story that it has behind it, going back to Slammiversary when Sting was announced as the first Hall of Famer, when Dixie and Hogan and Bischoff all took over TNA, and you start to see Jeff Jarrett's name kind of get thrown under the rug, and you start to see, the upbringing of TNA that he provided, obviously the founder of it and everything, kind of get thrown to the side with all this stuff that's been going on. So I think it could be intriguing to what we could get out of that. I don't want to see anything to where it's too overwhelming, too much to the point where it's just taking over impacts and taking over pay-per-views where it's like Jeff Jarrett's going to be a team or some bullshit. It's just intriguing, the whole stuff that you can do outside of the ring. You're going to have the great, in-ring action, the world title matches, whatever kind of matches you're going to have. But you could have some intriguing storylines outside of the ring with a Jeff Jarrett, with a Dixie Carter, Hulk Hogan, Sting. If you're going to use them like that, I think that could be an intriguing way to do it. And I think it makes a lot more sense in Jeff Jarrett in this capacity because the story behind it, I think, at least can make a little bit more sense. And obviously, like he said, with Aries and Hardy, it's all going to be on, for me, Austin Aries pulling this one out of Jeff Hardy. And it's what it is with Jeff Hardy. When he's in there with the guy that can pull it out of him, he usually can produce some pretty quality stuff. And I think being in the main event of Bound for Glory, being that, he's going to have a lot of burden on what's his future going to be with his contract coming up. There's been a lot of talk of Jeff Hardy possibly going back to WWE with all the stuff going on there. So whether or not this could be maybe a ploy to keep Jeff Hardy in TNA, if they give him the world title, if he wants to resign, something like that. I hope not. I hope Austin Aries can somehow retain, but it's to me really looking like Hardy's probably going to take the title here. But yeah, like you said, that triple threat's looking really intriguing. A lot of great names in that. Can really produce an athletic, high-flying kind of stuff in that match. And then kind of the lower card stuff is still to be formed here. Obviously, a lot of names to still be put on this card, but really interesting stuff going on with TNA here and their build towards their biggest pay-per-view of the year, Bound for Glory. Next up, we're going to be going downhill with a company that's been going downhill as of late, which is Ring of Honor, and they're just absolute struggles. They've been just the doldrums of everything right now. The pay-per-view quality, pay-per-view streams, the in-ring stuff has just been blah. The kind of work that's been putting on here has not really been too intriguing with anything, just nothingness right now. They're not doing anything to really get people excited about anything. They have Kevin Steen, one of the most controversial and exciting guys as the world champion, but there's nothing around that. I mean, they're not really producing anything to the point that they could really put and really grasp something around that. For the love of God, the last pay-per-view, it was Kevin Steen versus Rhino. I mean, Rhino is not a guy that a young upstart company like Ring of Honor has always been has need to be focusing on in a main event of a pay-per-view. Is there people that can be focused on that obviously has been up and coming that would be a lot better in that position? Absolutely. You have a lot of great names still with that company that are getting overlooked. You got a guy like Eddie Edwards that isn't doing jack shit. Davey Richards is coming back after the craziness he's been putting over in the last couple months. You got one of the best young athletes, the best young competitors in the world, in Adam Cole, who's been doing great stuff all over the place, and now is going to be having some just useless stuff going on with, now it looks like he could be doing something with Matt Hardy. I mean, what the fuck is this? Is not the shit you need to be doing. We could do this entire ROH discussion about just their pay-per-view streams. I mean, as soon as they went to, I got away from Go Fight Live, I just wasn't feeling it. Go Fight Live was doing great. I didn't have any problems with the streams, didn't have anybody getting pissed off that they weren't able to watch the product, weren't having anybody, you know, be pissed about everything. They moved to ROH, they wanted to have their own brand on their own website, produce their own pay-per-views, and it's been fucking garbage. We haven't get to see, you know, half of their pay-per-views anymore, even if we want to get them, which most of the time we don't as of late. We don't get to see half the show. I mean, it's terrible what they're just producing right now, and if they continue on this route, and like we were talking earlier today, if they continue on this route the next pay-per-view and they, you know, have stream problems, have problems, you know, whatever they do, don't produce in the ring or whatever, it's going straight downhill, and it's going quick, and it's not looking too great for Ring of Honor as of right now.
Yeah, Ring of Honor jumped to conclusion just like their fans did, and I can say I'm guilty as well when they did their, you know, Showdown in the Sun shows or whatever. When the stream was bad on Go Fight Live, it was because of weather issue or because of, you know, they had so many people buying in and buying this, and, you know, they had a situation with that, which, you know, that could have been fixed, but they jumped to conclusion to where they wanted to, you know, not deal with that anymore. They wanted to give the quality on their own, you know, on their own website. Yeah. So it's they jumped to that conclusion, and their website is not strong enough to hold that many people on there to be buying, you know, streams and pay-per-views, and that's the reasoning. We had debated, like, back and forth, like we did the pros and the cons of this last pay-per-view that we were like, should we get it for this? Should we get it that? No, this is kind of this sucks, blah, blah, blah. We didn't get it. And a good thing we didn't, you know, decide to get it.
We would have missed a hour
Stream
and a half
didn't
of
work.
it too. Yeah.
Stream didn't work. So, you know, we made a good decision by not getting it. I think it's one of those things that, I said this before, you know, in the previous 3 pay-per-views, they need to show up, and really, they are losing fans. Yeah. You know, you know, we could be the old fans, they're losing, and they could, like I could say, they could be gaining fans from their television show, from, you know, people who've never seen them before, but they're going away from what they honestly were, and
what they are,
what they should be, and you can even see it in the talent. Ring of Honor has always been great because of what the kind of talent that they have, but I really don't see the fire in a lot of the wrestlers to provide great matches. I mean, I see it in Adam Cole and Michael Elgin are 2 guys that I see who just want to just tear the house down. Yeah. You know, Mike Mondo wants to get shit done. So, I mean, you're talking about there's 3 guys, and, you know, and I never thought I'd say this, guys like the Briscoes are just kind of laying back and just letting shit happen. You know, they're just having, you know, this match and that match. And, you know, and it's okay. But then you got, you know, Jimmy Jacobs, and you got Carino as your tag team champions. The last time Carino was a champion in a major company, that shit went down.
Rhino was the main event on a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Which he just was.
And as bad as it sounds, as great as Kevin Steen is as the, you know, himself and as a champion, you know, it just almost seems like he don't give a shit either. No. Like, he just doesn't give a shit, like, about it. He knows he's the champion, he knows he's hot, and he knows he's, you know, he's in the spotlight. It almost seems like they don't want to throw him in there with a guy who's athletic and who he can really compete with. They keep throwing him in there with, like, brawlers and Eddie Kingston and Rhino.
That's been the trend with Steen. He's just seen in street fights. He hasn't seen with any guy like an Adam Cole or somebody like that.
Yeah,
need to be.
It's interesting, and the direction that they're going towards with Kenny King leaving and this happening and that happening. You know, Shelton Benjamin's gone and he's over in Japan right now. So you got a lot of stuff going on right now there that is just not pretty. In all the years that I've been watching Ring of Honor from 2002 when they started until now, if this continues to go towards the end of the year, I think this might be the roughest and harshest year for Ring of Honor maybe ever when it comes to putting on great matches and storylines and such. It's very, very difficult to watch. I can't even barely just stomach watching the TV product. It's just not interesting. Yeah. So it's just my thought.
Yep. Just stop trying to be somebody you're not. Just be you, and just stop it. Because I mean, you're just making yourself look like idiots. Just what you're putting on and what you're producing. Get some people that know how to run some fucking pay-per-views. Get that shit off of your website. I can't even buy a goddamn T-shirt on there, let alone a fucking pay-per-view. So just stop it. Ring of Honor struggles will hopefully turn around. We won't have to be continuing to talk about that, but it'll be something we'll definitely keep an eye on going into the future. Last topic here will be WWE. We're going to be kind of going off and on about broad and not, but we're going to stick to I'm talking about 3-hour Raws and our thoughts on how it's been so far. We obviously went to the first installment of the 3-hour Raws when we went to the 1,000th Raw back in July. And obviously going into these 3-hour Raws and knowing what they had to deliver, they have a lot of fucking time to put on a lot of stuff, and we knew that they'd have to be filling it with stuff that we have not seen yet. We would have to be filling it with talent that we haven't seen yet. And quite honestly, I don't think we've gotten that. I think it's great to have a 3-hour show. Obviously, you get 3 hours of a Raw. That's outstanding. You could do a lot of segments you don't get to do a lot more match time. You don't get a lot of time on the 2-hour shows, but there needs to be some new, fresh stuff that you need to throw on these Raws. And like me and Ryan were talking about before, obviously with football just starting up over the past couple weeks, and having the Sunday night games and having the Monday night games, obviously in primetime pay-per-view time and primetime Raw time, you're going to need to be stepping up in this time slot, because there's going to be people that are not going to want to pay attention to JTG jobbing to fucking Brodus Clay, or just on and on BS that they could throw out there. You need to be throwing some fresh shit out there, and that's where you could bring in the discussion of obviously the NXT guys, which has just been hot as hell right now, and really some of the most intriguing stuff that WWE's been putting out with the amazing depth of talent they have down in Florida with just everybody. You could go on and on with the names they have down there, but a lot of stuff to fill with the 3-hour Raws. Overall, there's been some really good ones. There's been some forgettable ones, and there's been some ones in between that people have heart attacks on. There's been a lot of those too. Random. But yeah, overall, they're going to need to be filling some more time with stuff that is easier for us to get into. It's not the same old shit that we just see over and over again, because I don't want to see a Brodus Clay squash match anymore. I don't want to see a Ryback squash match anymore. I don't want to see those, because we've seen them for months and months now. Let's see some fresh shit on here, because we have the time to do it on these 3-hour Raws.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's completely true what he said. We were joking about it, we were talking about NXT, how more intriguing it is than what Raw and SmackDown have been lately. And, I was saying how that what they should do with the 3 hours of Raw is they should take the first hour of Raw and they should make that just NXT, right?
So just start it off with NXT.
Yeah, the first hour of Raw, make it NXT. Then the next 2 hours, right, of Raw, make that NXT.
Again.
Just
continue with NXT.
Just a 3-hour episode of NXT.
That couldn't get more tremendous.
It sounds fabulous in terms of wrestling and all the interesting things they got going on down in Florida with that. But, exactly. They've been adding in segments with, doing this and doing that. We do a wrestling fantasy, and we talked about how, Daniel Bryan and Kane are like just getting more airtime on TV than Justin Bieber. It's fucking ridiculous.
Right.
They're just doing all kinds of, and it's entertaining, but it gets to that where you're like, you're right here, and then you're like, how much more can I handle? And then they go right here.
Yeah.
And it just gets to kind of just stops being funny and gets to being annoying. And they did the stuff with Sheamus. That was kind of entertaining. They needed something to do with Del Rio with Sheamus and that whole situation, but it's the talent they needed to be bringing in. Obviously, they're doing some great stuff with Damian Sandow. The stuff they've been doing with him is great. It looks like they might be doing something with Ryback, maybe with The Miz. It looks like
Miz TV. That'll cover a segment.
Yeah, Miz TV. So you got a guy who can talk on the mic and carry an interview. So that's pretty entertaining. But overall, it's just a lot of time to fill. And the one thing we talk about when there's that much time to fill, go back to what made you popular, and that's wrestling matches. We want to see longer matches. We want to see 15 to 20 minute matches on Raw. We want to see this. We want to see
not just the guys that you see in longer matches. Let's see some guys that aren't focused that much getting more time in matches. You throw these garbage matches that only get 3 or 4 minutes just to waste that 3 or 4 minutes that needs to be wasted. Let's see some of those guys get in there and have some more time. I think you could focus on those guys, even if you don't bring up NXT guys. You can make some little mini feuds that are just focused on a Raw and can maybe end on a Raw in the next couple of weeks or something. I think that'd be a good idea as well.
I love the idea of how much talent they have and how much work and wrestling matches they can put in. And one of my favorite matches on Raw ever was 1-2-3 Kid versus Bret Hart, where they had it look like 1-2-3 Kid could have beaten him.
Yeah.
Why not do that with Antonio Cesaro and Tyson Kidd? Why not they go out there and have a match and have Tyson Kidd go out there and have him wrestle like a 20-minute match, like on Raw, and have it look like Kidd might almost beat him and really get the crowd behind him.
Yeah.
And have Cesaro win, and then build him up as, you know, a credible guy, and it looks like, you know, they may or may not ever. They keep talking about a cruiserweight division. That's something that they just have never done, and they're trying to work out the tag team division. They're trying to get that stuff going because they know they have so much time to, you know, fill now. But it's hard. It's a real hit and miss. You know, it's you know, sometimes I'm off on Monday, sometimes I'm not, and when I'm usually not, I usually TiVo through some of the stuff, and it's just, you want to try to keep your audience entertained and fully through, and it's just hard because, you know, some of the stuff that they're putting on television is just not really, you know, working, and it's hard. It really is. So I mean, from where they're at now to where they're going, apparently online sources say they're extremely happy with how their 3-hour Raws are going, but you know, there's definitely some kinks in there and some things that are kind of sketchy, that are kind of, you know, wasting some time just to do it. I think it was like, what, like 5, almost, I might be exaggerating, 5 full minutes of just Daniel Bryan and Kane standing in the ring, looking at each other, deciding if they're going to.
Well, now we have the amazingly the time consumption of CM Punk just holding the championship above his head,
just killing time with that. I mean,
I'll watch that time killed.
That's hilarious.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
but I do not want to see, you know, after every commercial, a 5-minute promo about the pay-per-view last night. I don't want to see
They do that.
Constant fucking.
And it's exactly, you know, when they changed it from WWF to WWE, obviously they had to, but the E is more, the entertainment part is really making its way in there a lot more now, and with a lot of the segments and things they're doing in Twitter and voting for this and voting for that. And this and this and that, and AJ Lee is kind of sketchy as the GM. It's hit or miss sometimes with her.
True.
But, you know, it's like I said, it's really hard to put it where it's at right now. It may need a little bit more time to develop in some storylines, but as so far, it's hit or miss. You know, it's, you either like what they're doing or you don't.
Yeah, it needs some time. You got to have, you know, maybe some angles that come up that can really consume some time. Longer matches obviously could be one talking about, and obviously, like we're going to continue to mention until it happens, the developmental roster finally making its way to the main roster, and just seeing some fresh faces, because everybody loves to see somebody new and loves to see somebody that'll catch your eye instead of seeing the same old, which sometimes we get, and sometimes we get something we like to see. But this will now wrap up our inaugural Pulse Topix show. For my partner Ryan, I'm J-Man, and thank you for watching another edition of Pro Wrestling Pulse, the Pulse, the professional wrestling world.